We are live! Hey everybody, welcome, thank you for coming to this month's Interstellar Book Club live show. We have a special guest this month.
Woo! Wait, this way.
So, I think it's like different way for every single person on this screen.
Yes.
So you're on my channel watching this, so you know who I am, but we should go around and introduce ourselves. So we'll start with Steff and we'll go clockwise.
Sure. Hi guys, my name's Steff from channel Coffee Over the Apples. What do? I do TBR games, blackjack, bookmarks, rant reviews while cooking, sci-fi, horror, fantasy, manga, random things. If you like random, come hang out. Go Melody.
Hi, I'm Melody. I'm from Strawberry Lemon Books. I do a lot of reading vlogs. I might have some back to school videos coming up since campus is opening again, and videos should be coming back up in August. And yeah, back to Jessa.
Hey guys, I'm Jessa from the channel Gavin with Jessa. I do a lot of fandom content and also fun random bookish content as well. And then I'll pass it over to our guest for the month.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. I'm Natalie from the channel Pastel Writer. I do a lot of book hauls, recent reads, book tags, and just that kind of very basic book to classic content.
Cool, awesome. So the book we were reading this month was a tiny little book, 90 pages, and it was Nnedi Okorafor's Binti, which is the first in a series of 3.
Yes.
I think?
Yeah.
3. Cool. So yeah, there's probably going to be spoilers for this. So if you want to read this, stick around for our star ratings and then go away.
Kicking people out.
Essentially.
Get out of here. So what did everybody give this star-wise?
So after finishing it at first, I felt really good, but I still had some questions. I gave it a 4-star, but I'm probably leaning more towards now a 3 to 3.5 after thinking about it more.
Yeah, I'm the same with Jessa. Right after finishing it, it was like a 4, but after mulling it over for a bit, it's a 3.25 for now.
That's very specific.
Yeah, right in the middle.
Same. I'm in the same boat, and I have a feeling that my final answer is going to determine on how this conversation goes.
Yeah.
No, I was pretty confident in my 3. Like, I was like, there were good things, there were not so great things. It's a 3.
Definitely. I was exactly the same as you. I was like, bam, this is exactly a 3-star.
Well, geez, assertive people.
Yeah.
We know what we like. We know exactly what we like.
We know our taste.
100%.
It's like I always feel weird giving like star ratings because I'm like, I don't know, I have this guilty conscience and I'm like, no, I need to give it better because, you know, they worked hard on it. Even though that should not be the case. That's just the kind of person I am. So
Don't.
You're too nice, Jessa.
I know I am. So if you see my star ratings, just look at it a little bit differently because I'm always too nice.
Take off 1 star.
Yeah.
Extra salt on top. So who wants to read the Goodreads blurb for Binti, just so we can tell everybody what it's about before they go away, if they want to go away?
I have it up. I can do it if you want.
If you have it up, that's fantastic.
Yep. Okay, cool. So it says, her name is Binti, and she's the first of the Himba people ever to be offered a place at UMSA University, the finest institution of higher learning in the galaxy. But to accept the offer will mean giving up her place in her family to travel between the stars among strangers who do not share her ways or respect her customs. Knowledge comes at a cost, one that Binti is willing to pay, but her journey will not be easy. The world she seeks to enter has long warred with the Meduse, an alien race that has become the stuff of nightmares. UMSA University has wronged the Meduse, and Binti's stellar travel will bring her within their deadly reach. If Binti hopes to survive the legacy of a war not her making, she will need both the gifts of her people and the wisdom enshrined within the university itself. But first, she has to make it there alive. And that basically sums up the whole book. Okay, we're done.
Pretty much. Okay, so it's like full spoilers now. We're going to talk about absolutely everything. So that's the warning line. Past this point, there's no turning back.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay.
So who wants to go
Where do we
first?
start?
So what did people like about this book? What was stuff before we get into like picking it apart? What were the things that people really enjoyed?
I just think it was a lot of fun. Like, I liked the different ideas. I don't really read a lot of novellas, so this is probably like one of the shortest like books that I've ever read, not counting like poetry books or manga or something like that. But I think just because I really liked all the different aspects that it was trying to include, since I'm not familiar with a novella kind of writing style, it just seemed like everything was happening very fast. And I'm like, no, I need descriptions, which is why I gave it a 4 at first, because I'm like, I really like everything. Like, I'm really having like fun with all these ideas. But then it seemed like in a few pages, it was done. It was over. And I'm like, no, I want more.
It was very fast. I definitely agree. It was very fast.
I liked the idea of treeing. I liked the idea of what that does and what that is, and it being this kind of universal concept. I liked that technically it falls within the umbrella of Afrofuturism and like the thriving of her community and of the Himba people. And what was it, like 300 years in the future or like something?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Like that, yeah. So I liked that aspect of it. But I know that there's like more stuff to that we're going to talk about. Let's stay in the positive space right now.
I think it was very optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
Like overall, it was a very optimistic story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the culture that we could see in the book, and I feel like some of the books we read, you couldn't tell if it was like fantasy or sci-fi, but for this, I was like, yes, this is definitely sci-fi.
I just like that Binti saw the world through math. I just thought that was so cool because we don't really get that as much, especially with like a Black protagonist. So I thought that was really awesome. That's kind of the big thing that I was like, well, this is something I completely just like, period.
I feel like considering how integral maths is to all science, there is not enough science fiction that focuses on maths at all.
Yes, very true. Because I feel like there's something to be said about how math falls very directly into that realm of like combining science with fantasy and why science fiction and fantasy work so well together, because math is kind of like this invisible construct that you have to have a key to really understand. And so since math is really challenging for a lot of people, it also falls into that like fantastical, like magicalness. If you understand that, then you have these like superhuman abilities kinds of things. But it really is something that can be accessible if you have the right tools or educators or people to like guide you through it.
The right narrator as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts and feelings?
I do. Let me grab my copy. I stupidly forgot to grab it.
Did you annotate?
I did. You know I did.
Here we go.
Come on.
We got people trickling in now.
Hi,
Hey, Michael.
Who's that? Hi, Michael. I do things. Oh. Where did I go? I didn't tab though. I did write that for some reason. Now I'm trying to remember. I wrote in my review and in here that I felt like people who enjoyed Arrival would like this because of the linguistics aspect and like her being this key between the two races being able to understand each other.
Oh yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way.
I see that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this book made me look up a lot of things, which is probably good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it made me go away. Like there were terms when it said terms that were in Himba and in Namib, it made me go up and look up what they were and read more about them.
Did anyone else deep dive into the Himba people and also know nothing about the Himba people before this book? Like
I looked up a little
seen
bit.
pictures of them before.
So did you guys also like? I just like binged a bunch of YouTube videos and articles about them because I was like, I know nothing.
I'm a very lazy reader. No, I did not even Google them once. I was just like, okay, I'll go with whatever the author's telling me. That's it. That's good enough for me.
So I learned. So okay. So then let me like brain dump. Hold on.
Super speed.
Yay!
Yes.
Thanks for coming.
Welcome.
So like, okay, so the Himba people, there's a couple things. They are in a very dry, very like they have very little access to water in where they are. So that goes into directly why they use clay and things for bathing themselves. And they also use steam baths to bathe themselves. But there is something, they're actually very welcoming to tourists because tourists are a major way that they fund their community. But they're also at the same time very much, I guess, directly to what the author was saying, which is like they don't allow outsiders in to the point where they're there to alter their like customs, their like way of being. So like there was some truth to that. But I really question, and I think, I don't know who said it in the chat also, about their like their focus on technology and the importance of technology as it was written in here. Being that this was only 300 years in the future, I really wonder whether that would be the case because they're very concentrated and there's a lot of like preservation work around their culture and not allowing it to be influenced by like Western civilization right now. So I don't know if that's like actually realistic or like what.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Especially because, like you said, it's 300 years in the future. That's 300 years of keeping that tiny culture perfectly undiluted. And then to portray them as a people that are super into advanced tech was kind of a weird choice. But it makes you wonder whether in the next books there's going to be some kind of backstory to explain that, whether there was like maybe a turning point in the timeline of that culture, which led to them maybe accepting stuff coming in and wanting to put stuff out into the wider world, maybe.
Yeah. From all that description, now I'm thinking about it, it's kind of reminding me of the like part of the plot of the Black Panther movie where like Wakanda was like this nation that everyone kind of like, you know, kind of looked down upon because they're like, oh, they're a third world country, but really they had their own tech and they're like, we're going to keep this for ourselves. We're going to keep our vibranium and we're just going to like help our people. And then like towards the end of the movie, Chadwick Boseman is like, no, we're going to use this to help others. And we're going to use this to like help others. So yeah, I'm curious to see, because they, again, kind of like with the Black Panther culture from that movie, it was very, like, now it just sounds very similar to how they were looked down upon because they were thriving the whole time. They just didn't need to tell anyone about it. They were like, we're thriving, so that's all that matters for us. So
I think there's something to be said there too about like the role of technology and being that they're in a very remote place, the accessibility to resources to build technology. If they have those resources, it might be safe to say that they have some sort of trade or like expansive economy with like the you know other parts of civilization. But at the same time, like what you were saying, Jessa, they're very much like, we're removed. We don't want to be part of these organizations or like the UMSA University or any of those things. So like we need more information to kind of understand like how did we get to this point.
That's the heck thing about the whole novella though. Like we need more information. That's it.
I feel like we'd have the information if we had more pages.
It's like I thought it was just me. I'm like, maybe I'm just missing something because I'm not used to reading such short books. I'm like, but I'm still enjoying everything, but I just am missing something.
It's not just you, because I just recorded my TBR for August, and I plan on reading the second book in August because I kind of just want to know. Okay. But in the second book, it seems like the main plot is her and what's his name? The alien.
Oh, cool. I don't actually know how to say it, but that's how
yeah, that guy. She brings him back to her family. So I'm assuming we're going back to like learn more about their culture. I don't know. I hope so.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Here's my jellyfish friend that killed 500 people.
Oh man.
My
I don't even know if they'd be ready for that yet. They still need to like get over. They need to work through what it meant for her just to leave.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
lot.
They're gonna need to get over her hair changes as well.
Yeah.
Any other positives anyone wants to share?
Before the storm.
I think it's a really good like kind of commentary on leaving your small hometown for the first time, like whether you're going to college or you're just moving away in general. It just reminded me a lot of that. I grew up in a small town here in New Jersey, and I mean, everything was cool, but I'm like, I want to try something new. So I went out to college in Kentucky, which is like completely different from New Jersey. And so I was able to just learn a lot more about just the country around me going 11 hours away. So I thought that was a really interesting, like, it just reminded me a lot of people trying, like young people just trying to go out, get out of like what they're used to, what they've been told their whole life, and just explore something new, whether or not they like it or mesh with it, at least they get to experience that. So
Yeah, it was nice to see a coming of age with somebody who was approaching it from a I want to experience new things rather than I want to escape from old things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't about that. That's cool. What was I thinking?
What
I
else
don't
did we
understand what
have?
I was writing. I wrote, okay, I don't know what I was writing. It's the section where she talks about her father and like how he taught her to be a harmonizer. And I wrote, reminiscent of education for centuries through storytelling in many cultures. I imagine if these were not about fables, but recipes and instructions. What's the difference between a fable and an instruction?
Okay.
What?
Thinking. I mean, technically, fables were used as instructions if you want to talk about the harmonizers and just like throughout history, like the importance of the storyteller and the artist in ancient civilizations is like when there were no kind of, I mean, they had like religious temples and stuff, but when there were no like educational institutions, the fable teller was like setting the standard of like, this is how you live. We follow these stories because they are important and they have moral codes and blah, 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 blah.
With that sentiment, it makes you wonder to what degree a set of instructional fables would be the foundation for a religion to come up.
I think that might
Because
be
if you're like, this is the way you live, and I'm telling it to you through stories, that sounds exactly like a religious text.
So then are the harmonizers like religious symbols?
Maybe. You'll have to tell us during when you read book 2.
So is nobody else going to read book 2?
I will
I'm gonna read it.
one day.
Okay.
One day.
Okay,
I basically didn't read it now because I didn't want to get confused. I was like, I want to be clear about what everyone else has read.
Yeah.
And not get lost. So I was waiting for the live show.
Same. I'm going to start it like, we can do a buddy read. Yay.
Yes.
So I have so many notes. Hold on.
yes.
If anyone else has notes.
We love the annotations.
Oh, absolutely. I love annotating. Wait. What did I? What? I wanted to tell him that there was a code that the pattern spoke of my family's blood. Oh, the code in her hair. That was
That
so
was
cool.
cool.
That was cool.
That was so cool.
That
There were
kind of
little
put-
things. Yeah.
No, sorry,
ahead,
go,
Max.
go, go, go. Your
There were
special
little
guest, go.
things- Okay. There were little things about the world that I really liked. And that was one of the things. Like the hair had her history, like her ancestry was all in the code in her hair. And I thought that was amazing. And the other thing I really liked was that the spaceships were alive. Like they weren't sentient, but they were alive. And I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know.
Wait, did I miss that? Whose spaceship was alive?
The spaceship was like a giant shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
Whose spaceship was a giant shrimp?
The one that all the students are on. The one the book is set on.
I missed that. I saw that. I remember that they mentioned shrimp, but I was really confused about.
Yeah, they said it looks
how-
like a giant crustacean thing. And it had they like selectively bred air pockets inside it and stuff like that. It was really cool.
Okay, that totally went over my head. I had no, they're technically on two ships. Wait, the Umza ship or the alien ship?
The Umza
The
ship.
Umza ship.
Oh, well, I missed that.
And what you were saying about the braids as well, I thought that was cool because it kind of put forward that even the bits of their culture that were not super technological still required intelligent thought and creativity to understand behind it as well. So I thought that was good for balance, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of
Yay!
yay!
Yeah.
Okay, I thought this was interesting because in my deep dive into the Himba people, they so like you know how on the cover she's covering her hair in the I don't know how to say it. Ujitse?
Ojitse or
Ujitse,
Ojitse?
right? Okay,
Yeah.
that. She's covering her hair in the clay, right?
Mhm.
And the clay is really thick. So if you look at pictures of the Himba people, it's almost like a really clean stick of clay when it hardens. So it just looks like a tube. So I think it's really interesting that her hair is braided into almost like a genogram, but you can't see it because it's covered by this mask of clay. So it's like this cultural thing that's present, but it's not easily accessible to everyone because it's not visible.
How did the other guy see it then?
Which other guy?
Because it was the guy behind her that pointed out the geometric patterns in her hair.
That I don't know, because if you look at the pictures, they cover it from the root to the tip, so technically it wouldn't be visible.
Unless because it's clay, they were like cutting patterns into the clay around the hair. I'm literally just guessing though, I have no idea.
So maybe the patterns were not in the way it was braided, but in the patterns that were drawn into the clay in her hair.
Maybe. It sounded like it was the way it was braided though.
Yeah,
That's what it sounded like.
Hmm.
Plot hole. It's fine. We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Where do we want to go next? I have annotations for days, but you guys go ahead.
I think the thing that I was with the book for like 10, 15, 20 pages. And then when the security guard scanned her little metal thing and was like, this is no metal ever been known to science before. But you can take it on the plane. It's fine. Like, we don't need to take this away from you. This is yours.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Plot hole number 2. Okay.
I think a lot of the issue I have with this book was not that the things that were happening in it were silly. It was just that stuff was, and this is probably a symptom of it being a novella, stuff was just too quickly and conveniently resolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just like the issue like I had with it too, just because I was like, I definitely missed something. Like, how did we come from like problem A to solution A in like this amount of time? I'm like, okay, I missed this. I read it too quickly because sometimes I was reading it on my Kindle because that was the only version available like at my public library. And sometimes when I read on my Kindle, I just personally read things faster. So I was just like, I missed something here. Like there was just. Yeah. I'm like, there's got to be something that I missed, and I would reread it, and I'm like, I didn't miss it. I still like it, but like we still got from here to here in this amount of time, which just didn't seem like realistic.
Yeah. I don't think it was bad writing though. I don't think it was written badly.
Not at all. Wow. Oh, people showing love in the chat! Yay! Everyone go watch everyone's videos. That's so nice. Also, let us know in the chat, too, what your favorite part was, guys. If it was any particular thing or thing that you found most fascinating. I have that same problem.
If I can, I also get a physical book, so that way if I need to reread a chapter or something, I have it like available to me, so that way I feel like I'm not missing out too much. Or I go back and forth between physical and Kindle. Like I'll bring my Kindle to work or something, and then I'll read it like just at work, and then I'll have like a physical copy if possible, like at my house, and then only read that when I'm home.
I have one suggestion. It might not work. I don't know. I'm pulling this out the top of my head. Maybe changing the size of the font, because technically when the font is really small, we tend to read with our peripheral and not like in succession. So if you expand the font, you'll have less text, and so you'll do less skim reading and more just like forcing your eyes to go with the sentences.
That's a good idea.
Try it.
What did you think of the alien adversary?
What adversary?
The Medusa. Just like them in general.
No, I was being sarcastic because they resemble the
Oh, well, yeah.
What do you guys think?
I was just frustrated, honestly, because I thought so many good things were like introduced, and then it just went like at the speed of light through it. And I was like, no, this is something we can take our time with. Because I thought like part of what the author was trying to get at was like cycles of violence, because basically the Medusa and the other ones, the Kush, though, however you say it, were like repeatedly attacking one another at this point for no reason, because they couldn't remember the last time they had an actual conversation with one another. And seemingly they also couldn't remember why they were fighting in the first place. So it's like, okay, this is a good idea, but then a bunch of people get slaughtered and still everything works out. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I was like, they ended 100,000 of years of violence through one conversation.
I would like to think it's not fully resolved and that it was just a read.
Yeah.
But also, side note, tangent, kind of not really, without spoiling other books that we've read, I saw a reference to Becky Chambers kind of in book 4. If you guys know what I'm talking about, we don't have to go into details because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But like, there's a certain civilizations in one of the Wayfarers books that were in a perpetual war, and it got to the point where they couldn't figure out who started what. You know what I'm talking about? So someone was asking one of them, why are you still fighting? And they're like, well, it's because of this reason. And when they were asked, well, but is that reason still the case? And they're like, well, no, but they, everyone's just like, we're just going to keep fighting till whatever. So I thought it was like really refreshing in a way that there wasn't violence, but at the same time, what does justice look like?
Yeah. We won't get onto a Becky Chambers tangent because we'll be there for 6 hours.
It just sounds like most of our complaints are we just want more. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
100%. Definitely.
We got a comment from Dindrain. Apologies if I'm not saying your name correctly. I don't think we're talking enough. But I really want to know more about the Eden. Yeah.
Yeah. This book was like when you're driving along a really long road with your parents in the car and you see like a roadside attraction and it's like the world's biggest rubber band ball. And you're like, Mom, Dad, can we pull over? And they're like, no. Keep driving. You're like watching things as they go past the window like that, but you never get to see anything properly.
Like, wait, but there's something there.
Trying to get as much of the information that you can.
Yeah, definitely. Has anybody read anything else by Okorafor?
No, but I want to.
What else have they written outside of Binti?
I have good.
Is there a lot of stuff?
That's what I'm like. I feel like I have, but I might be getting my authors confused.
They have. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, I can tell you right now. If my computer will load. Okay, they have written. What do we got? Remote Control, which I've heard about. Akata Warrior, Who Fears Death, I Caught a Witch, which I think was making rounds around BookTube a while. The Book of Phoenix. And some, they also did, I think they wrote some Black Panther issues for Marvel.
I will be right back.
Yes. Oh, there you go. It's on the screen. Sorry, I wasn't. It's on the screen.
I think Jessa is our resident
Control.
Marvel nerd.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna find it. It is in regards to something that was said when what's his name? Oku was showing Binti to their tribe leader. There was a section where he said, "Chief, Binti doesn't know how to speak. Binti is uncivilized. Forget it. It is young, a girl." And I was like, do they have a concept of sex, and why is this relevant? Because we don't really find out if Oku is a boy or a girl.
Yeah, that line seemed really out of place to me.
Unless I missed it. Did she refer to Oku as a he? Or she?
I don't know. I don't know.
I can't recall any really genders.
Yeah, actually, they use it.
Yeah,
It, right?
that's the only one I remember. I don't know if it changes by the end, but
Like I don't know why an alien would use "girl" as a denigrating term when they're talking about another species biology. Would they have a concept of like historical chauvinism and misogyny?
Like, why not use also it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if humans are really that unimportant to them and all the same, then you're going to use one word for everything, surely.
I don't know.
Jessa, what did you bring to show and tell today?
I knew I recognized the name after we said it a few times, but she did write
cool.
a Shuri run. It's only it's 6 issues. This came out in 2019, I believe. So it's a series that focuses on Shuri because she needs to take over as Black Panther. That's like what the people want her to do because T'Challa's gone missing in space. And I really like this. I think it ended kind of on an abrupt ending. So it sounds like it's pattern for when she writes short things, but the art is beautiful and the story is great. So I'm like, I know that name sounds familiar. This is like when I was first getting into comics again, and I was like, ooh, I need it because Shuri's my girl, and I wanted to know more. So I recommend this run. This one is The Search for Black Panther. This was issues 1 through 5. And this is 24/7 Vibranium, which is issues 6 through 10.
Awesome.
Those look really good. I had no idea about that. I love Shuri. Yeah, she's so cool.
I feel like a lot of authors randomly dip into Marvel comics, and you only find out about it 6 years later.
Have you guys heard of the author Ta-Nehisi Coates? I know I'm saying that wrong. But he's very popular. He had a Black Panther run. He's currently doing a Captain America run. And because I learned about him from that first, and then when I saw he's a really famous author, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So
yeah, he's got a lot of good books that are pretty popular. So I definitely also an author I want to check out. But yeah, amazing nonfiction. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So, did anybody else have an issue with the amount of coincidence and convenience in this book? I feel like that was another thing that I kind of got hung up on. She just happens to find this thing that lets her communicate with the aliens, and then her clay she uses just happens to be magical to them. I feel like there was a lot of convenience to move the story along.
That makes sense. I mean, with most, I don't know if I'm calculating this correctly, but with most protagonists, there is a certain level of convenience. This person, unless it's the chosen one trope, which is its own thing, then it's this person was in the right place and had the right tools at the right time. But then I guess you're right. There's a certain level of layering to that where it's all right, 4th time convenience.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really notice it again. because of like, just kind of suspension of disbelief. Like you just have to kind of, when you read something or watch something, there's always that little bit of, okay, I need to just pretend I'm in a little bit of a different universe, even if it's literally like Earth or something like that. But I think that just didn't really hit me as, like, I just didn't really notice it as much, I guess I could say.
I was kind of wondering if there was like some history to it, because the chief of the alien people, they heard of her people before. So I was like, how did they know the Himba people if they hate all the humans? Was there something there? So.
Don't think I even noticed that.
They were scouting for 1,000 years ago. That's how they know. I don't know.
And the bit where it said that they've spoken to humans before once long ago, I was like, what does that mean?
What's that?
Know what anything means.
I wish I'd bought like the bind up of all three, so it was like one continuous story. I feel like that would have made it flow better for me. Yeah.
Imagine we read the third book and it was like that they know like Binti's great 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 grandmother or something, and you're like, what?
Well, if that thing, is it safe to assume the Eden thing was found by Binti on Earth, and that we know that they know about the Himba people, and that thing does something to them, that they were there at some point in the past? Like that might be a relic from their civilization. And that's also another layer of convenience of like, it's like if we go to the rainforest and we leave trash, right? But what are the chances that the trash that we leave is our kryptonite? Like that is very specific. Like it could have been the equivalent of a spoon. I don't know.
There is a book about that. That is one of my favorite books that is exactly about that concept.
Ooh, share.
It's called Roadside Picnic by Boris and Arcadie Strugatsky. But highly recommend that. It's very short. It's like 150 pages. But it's worth a read. But it's exactly that concept you just said.
Wait, who is it by?
Boris and Arcadie Strugatsky, Russian guys.
I really like that name.
It's pretty cool.
I found it. Put it on my Disney.
Russian
that's exactly what I did
Soviet.
too.
Wait, so they found a spoon? Or like
So it's these aliens that come to Earth, leave a bunch of stuff behind that's like basically trash to them, but to us is like technological miracles because our cultures are on such different levels. But, yeah, it's really good.
Ah, very cool. Yes.
Interesting.
Matt's coming in clutch with the recommendation.
Yeah, I feel like Matt's always has recommendations whenever we do our lives.
So I work in a bookshop and I can't turn that part of me off.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
KFC Spork.
KFC Spork. That's the best comment we've ever had.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, any other bits of the book that people had strong opinions about?
Is that going to be a segue into neutral opinions? Or like
we can have neutral opinions. Yeah, this isn't like I really don't want this video to be just us slamming this book, because there were like a bunch of things about it that were genuinely very cool.
There were good things. Okay, I wrote hearts. I wrote like little, like doodled little hearts and faces.
Oh, cute.
A couple things. Wait, I haven't read it since, so I don't know why I hearted this. It says, it was the first time I received treatment similar to the way my people were treated on Earth by the Kush. In a way, this set me at ease. People were people everywhere. These professors were just like anyone else. But were they though? Because how could they make such a decision in such a short amount of time to be like, fuck it, sure, we'll give you back your stuff? Like,
I do just want to reply to this comment. I feel like criticizing somebody's work is in no way criticizing the person. And you should be able, as a reviewer and a reader, to openly say how you feel about literally anything you read. So I don't feel like picking this book apart is picking on the author at all. It's literally just talking about a piece of art, a piece of work.
And I feel like too, because like with the Himba people, like those are an actual kind of people. like myself, I'm clearly not one. And so I feel like if you were talking negatively about the culture because you didn't understand it or something like that, I feel like that's also completely different, because then that's just a little more ignorance, because you're not taking the time like Steff did to research and learn more. And so I feel like if it's a specific cultural thing, on any author of color, not just necessarily this book, but if it's a cultural thing that you're not understanding and you're like, this is a bad book because I don't get that, then that's completely different than criticizing the story for the words that are on the page, rather than not understanding something because you don't want to take the time to do research, or you haven't experienced that. So it's like, well, it's bad because I don't get it because I didn't experience that. So
yeah, I've definitely seen people on Goodreads like reviews, right? Like, oh, I didn't like this book because I didn't understand the culture. I wish they had a glossary. And that is very helpful to have a glossary, but you can also do your own research for things like that too.
Definitely. I think there's a big difference between being ignorant and being willfully ignorant. Like, if you're ignorant, that's fine. That just means you can learn and stop being ignorant. But like, if you're ignorant and you're like, I don't want to know about this, I don't want to learn about this, this is crap. Like, saying that kind of thing with absolutely no grounds to say it before you even know anything about it. Like I said, this book made me look things up that I didn't know before, and that's one of the really good points of it.
And I think most of the points that we're saying here are like similarly to what Jessa was saying, is they're not critiques of the Himba people themselves. They're not critiques on Nnedi Okorafor as a writer, because we did say in the beginning, like, hey, her writing's really good. We're interested in reading more from this author. It's just a critique of what's in front of us. And I think the same thing is really applicable, like as an artist, part of what we do is our work exists in the context to be read and interpreted. So if you're coming from a place of, this is what I see in front of me based on my understanding, and like Max and everyone else was saying, of like, what more information can I get from this to further my understanding of a subject? It's not directly saying like, this was bad because the author, there's a clear difference. I think this is why I need to make that rant review on True Blood, because there is a clear difference between when an author is using certain things to develop a point. There's a difference between that and then also the points that are being made reflective of the author's values. Those are like two totally different things. Yeah. And I think that this book was also trying to do something positive, like we've mentioned, about the thriving of culture, about humanity, about like how we would react. And again, with the ending being so non-violent, about the possibilities for peace and what justice looks like at the ending of war. I think there's a lot of positive things here. So just because we're talking about like nitpicking, because that's what book clubs do, we nitpick, it doesn't mean that it's like genuinely a bad thing.
And I would hazard a guess that this is the first instance of Himba rep in sci-fi. I probably can guarantee that it's not been done before.
Right.
I'm gonna guess.
Google it.
Steff about to prove me totally wrong.
No,
I'm ready. I'm ready to be wrong. I love being wrong.
I love being wrong.
I was like watching this video once about just like a guy just like giving a review on like the movie After. I don't know if y'all heard of that movie. It's not good, but and he's like, I don't want to talk down on this director because she's a woman, and you know we need more women directors. He's like, but I can still critique how poorly she directed everything, because not because she is a woman, because this movie is bad. So
the ways in which this book didn't live up to my expectations were in no way reflective of any qualities of the author.
Correct.
Now, if you want to hear about writing that reflects the quality of the author, when I make my rant review for True Blood, you can check that out. But that's another story.
I love rant reviews.
Listen, I read that book in January, and I've been putting off that video because every time I think about it, my blood boils. Like, oh!
What are you gonna like cook or bake while you do your rant review?
I don't know what I'm gonna make, but
something doughy that you get to punch the whole way
Yeah,
through
I
the
need
video.
to punch something. I really do. Yeah. Anyway, back to Binti.
Yeah, this book
Yeah.
probably will appeal to a hell of a lot of people, and a load of people will probably really enjoy it. 100% agree.
Mhm.
Also, the cover is so beautiful.
The cover is very
I
cool.
just gotta
Gorgeous.
say that. Gorgeous.
Yes. In that same vein, there is something to be said about the representation here and how rare it is. And the fact that we're even talking about how rare that is in science fiction just goes to show how much we need more books like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important.
Mhm.
So just because it wasn't a 5-star for us does not mean that everyone should not pick up this book.
Yeah. This just goes to show as well that sci-fi is the best at rep, and it's constantly being the best at rep.
It's very true.
Fantasy needs to up its game.
Brandon Sanderson, we're looking at you. Okay.
I mean, I think the other thing, which I think it was Max that brought it up in the Discord chat, is that if this had been marketed as like a short story or something like a long short story, I feel like it would have been like from the start, you would have gotten into it being like, I'm not going to know everything, because this is precisely the point, is to be very short and direct and like get to a specific destination. But since it's like a novella and all of that, it's like, it just leads you to be like, oh, there's going to be more. And then it's not. It just doesn't.
Short stories are like notoriously chopped down to the essence of what they are. Definitely. And they're like a window into a world rather than a total view of a whole world built. That's something I really love about short stories, though. I read a lot of short stories.
Absolutely. Okay, I have some lines that I would like us to dissect.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay, so it's a section where Oku is talking to Binti about revenge, and he's saying, won't you spare me for curing that? I could barely breathe. When it didn't respond, I asked why, or maybe there is no reason. You think we're like humans? It asked angrily. We don't kill for sport or even for gain, only for purpose. I frowned. They sounded like the same thing to me, both gain and purpose. And it was a conversation of like how he was saying they're not getting revenge, but technically what they're doing, I think, is revenge. I don't know. I wrote something about him saying the Medusa aren't afraid of death. This would be honorable. What did I write? Honor can be something gained. In order to have honor, it must be enforced by a decision, which is technically a seek to gain. I don't know what I was writing. Does that make any sense?
I feel like saying we only kill for purpose is kind of dumb, because you can literally take any reason and say this is my purpose. Like, revenge can be your purpose. Fun can be your purpose. So, I feel like maybe the Medusa are hypocrites.
I think so. I don't know. I wonder if they have like philosophers in their culture.
I don't know.
Like anyone who like dissects them.
They seem to have a very like an eye for an eye attitude.
Yeah.
And I feel like the book is totally okay with portraying that as a good thing or an acceptable thing.
So, I mean, the whole scene where showing that even those advanced aliens as we resist humans do. I don't know.
Could be.
Maybe.
We're all just guessing.
It could be about how you reach the same point from like different directions, you know, like.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. But then I just gotta say, when the whole bloodbath started to happen, I was like, yeah, violence, pretty fun. And that was like peak violence, and then it tapered off, and I was like, oh, okay.
Damn.
I just wanted more violence.
More violence.
No, I'm not against the violence. I just prefer to care about the people who are dying first. So the
Yeah.
fact that we didn't, I was like, this is just blood.
Yeah, this is different.
Because blood just made everything better, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of like set this expectation that there was going to be some sort of violence at the end, and then when we didn't get it, that's when all of us started chiming in the Discord, like, wait!
But I think what you're saying, Natalie, just boils down again to it not being long enough for us to see things, especially characters.
Book 2 and 3.
Yes, 2 and 3. Well, they're not long, so if we read them, whoever of us decides to read them, we can come back and tell you it was worth it, or no questions.
I feel like I'm curious to try to pick it up, but I think the next time I'll grab the trilogy and just read it as one book instead of reading it as 3 different ones. I feel like if I did that, maybe my opinions will change, but I also don't know. So,
so it's safe to say. Oh, go ahead.
And then the bind up doesn't just have like the 3 main novellas. There's also like 0.5 whatever novellas.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, because I have, at least in the ebook, that's all I can speak for. At least in the ebook bind up, the next one is like 1.5, and it's not really the second book. So maybe reading all of that in a row might make more sense.
right.
Okay. So take our critique with a grain of salt, because it could just be that these were all meant to be read in succession, not individually like what we're doing right now. So opinion can
as always, go and read it for yourself and form your own opinions.
And then come back and let us know.
Maybe there's a 0.5 book. With more
Like a prequel, Mel?
Yeah.
Does help, though. Of course, you can argue the book should stand alone to a certain extent, even as part of the series.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, you can review them in separate lights to reflect both of those things, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll let you know when I read them all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get on the Discord.
Any other points anyone wants to make?
I feel like we've done pretty well talking about 90 pages, honestly.
Yeah.
I think so. I really do like her writing, though. I want to say that again, because there's been books that we've nitpicked in our chats, but usually, correct me if I'm wrong, that also is in conjunction with, we don't plan on continuing the series or don't plan on continuing the author's writing, but I'm actually interested in reading the rest of her stuff, so that is a positive. So are we all still at the same rating?
Yeah, I'm still sticking with a 3. A solid and decisive 3.
I think I will probably also drop down to a 3 as well.
3.25.
Dude, Goodreads needs to get at least half-star ratings, because I don't like deciding one way or another. At least half-star, that's where we could start. And then we can get to like the 0.5 or 0.25 and 0.75. Ooh, that'd be perfect.
A shit bar where you can just drag it and like drop it.
Yes.
Perfect.
I want this star to be filled this much.
Yeah, I give this book 3.002758.
You give it pi. Like, if Goodreads can give us our yearly breakdown in like these kinds of increments, you can give us like
0.5 stars.
Yeah.
Stop being lazy, Goodreads. Come on.
Up your game.
One day it'll happen and the whole book community will freak out.
They gotta listen eventually, right? Everybody wants it.
I'm just surprised they haven't really. Like, people have been complaining about this for, it seems like, forever. So I'm honestly just surprised.
We should bombard them with angry letters.
Yes.
Yes.
They can't ignore it. Or we can just all move to Storygraph, whatever, or anywhere else. Totally fine.
That works too.
So, any other thoughts before we announce next month's? Any other annotations?
I'm just imagining shrimp ship now.
As a shrimp.
Yeah. Like that seems so cool. In space, just a floating shrimp.
I will say one more positive thing about something I really liked about what it meant symbolically for Binti to be the first of her people to go willingly. And I think this might tie back to what Max was saying, but going for the purpose of like searching for more information, not to escape something, and being a first generation of any kind of like civilization or people, and like the amount of courage that takes to do something. That's a lot of weight on one person's shoulders. There's a lot of symbolic weight there.
While also being representative of your entire culture. That's a lot of pressure as well.
So I was rooting for her. It's like, yeah, Binti, you got this. Represent.
I was glad she was able. Oh, sorry.
Oh, red. I just saw another heart.
I was glad that in the end she was able to find what she needed to make her clay in Quincy University. I was like, oh, I really hope it works.
Okay, I found another heart right there. It says when they were explaining the Eden, it says Eden was a general name for a device too old for anyone to know its function, so old that they were now just art. And I was like,
That's cool. That's cool.
Oh, and like, what does that mean? I couldn't think of anything, but do we have any items like that? I mean, I guess maybe with an archaeology of like items that from past civilizations that we just don't know their function. So we're like, it's a thing.
I guess so. I would say it probably especially applies to antique weapons, like swords and stuff like that.
Torture devices.
And in actuality, it was like a back scratcher, but we were like, it's a sword.
I've never seen anybody say the phrase torture devices with such an innocent smile on their face.
Stop it.
We should just make a compilation video of Melody like saying really dark things.
With a smile.
Oh god. Dingle hopper? What's a dingle hopper?
It's a fork.
It is?
Wait,
Well,
what?
it's from The Little Mermaid. If we're on the same page, I could be wrong, but that's how I know dingle hoppers. They're like, this is a dingle hopper because they're fish, and then she's like brushing her hair with it, like when she comes to the surface or whatever.
I love it. Cool. No more hearts. I'm done.
No more hearts. Okay. I guess we'll announce next month's read then. So it is going to be, whose channel is it on? Is it
Me.
Oh, it's Jessa's channel. We're going to be reading A Memory Called Empire by Arcadie.
Yes.
Cool.
Do you want to read the synopsis?
Yeah, lay it on us.
Hold on. I was practicing earlier. There's some alien words in here.
We love alien words.
Okay, so it says, Ambassador Mahit Zmare arrives in the center of multi-system Texkalani Empire only to discover that her predecessor, the previous ambassador from their small but fiercely independent mining station, has died. But no one will admit that his death wasn't an accident, or that Mahit might be next to die during a time of political instability in the highest echelons of the imperial court. Now Mahit must discover who is behind the murder, rescue herself, and save her station from Texkalan's unceasing expansion, all while navigating an alien culture that is all too seductive, engaging in intrigues of her own, and hiding a deadly technological secret, one that might spell the end of her station and her way of life, or rescue it from annihilation. Ooh.
We love seductive aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Let's do it.
I've heard that there's a lot of stuff in this one about sort of the evolution of language, media, and like post-colonialism. So it does sound really interesting.
We should also go at the same time. Ooh.
Ah.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah.
Yay!
So make sure you tune in next month. And I've linked all the channels here below. So make sure you subscribe to everybody and go check out their content.
Yep. And tants to our special guest, Natalie, for coming. Our first special guest. Woo woo. No, don't.
No, we love talking.
We love comments. We love comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love this.
If anything, more comments.
It
Yeah.
makes it fun. More fun.
It reassures us that we're not screaming into the void.
The void.
For real.
Cool.
Yay.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you check everybody's out. And I guess that's it. So we'll see you next time on Jessa's channel. And make sure you join us in the Discord, which I haven't linked down below, but I will link down below. If you like sci-fi, check us out on there.
Yay. Yay.
Cool. So bye everyone.
Bye. Time to wave. Bye.